してあげる私の恋なんか蹴飛ばしてバカ野郎なラブで
Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another anime review, and in this anime review I'll be covering the series called Romantic Killer. This is season 1, which has 12 episodes, so I'll just give you a quick synopsis of what it says about it. The synopsis reads, who needs a boyfriend when you've got a cuddly cat? Determined to avoid romance, one tenacious teenager faces off against a quirky magical matchmaker. I'll now move into the episodes, and I'll also give their synopsis, and I'll also talk about I'll give a little bit of a talk about each episode. So starting off with episode 1, which is why is there so much legalese in magic? And of course we start off with the synopsis being, surrounded by her favorite things, Anzu Hoshino gets ready to immerse herself in a new video game, but she quickly notices that the game is not what she seems. Now, in this particular starting point, we end up meeting the character of Anzu Hoshino, to which we learn that a lot of things that she really loves and enjoys are, number 1, her cats, chocolate, and video games. And this is sort of like how we're introduced to her character. But in the process of like still going to school and meeting this particular wizard from this video game that she ends up collecting, and it's called Romantic Killer. That's the game. And only to find out that it's not the game, its real name is called Romantic Killer, but it was actually meant to be something else. And she discovers that it's not actually its real name. To which she ends up meeting this wizard who works on confiscating all of these very things just to help her improve her own love life, or in other words, to get more sociable with other people. And I think the premise of this story is really good, as it could apply to basically anyone in any day. And of what I watched of this first episode, it was really quite interesting. And also in this episode, we end up meeting a character by the name of Kanzaki, and Tsukasa Kanzaki, to which we will end up meeting up again in the next episode. And there's an event that sort of like occurs, and we will get to see more that plays out with this character. So moving into episode 2, it's called It's Time for Children to Go to Sleep. Horrified to find a cockroach in her house, Anju escapes to a nearby park, only to be met by a sudden torrential rain. To her dismay, Tsukasa passes by. Now, when we start to meet Tsukasa, this is after the turn of events, after episode 1. And with it, she also explains that there's a cockroach in the house, and of course, she's scared to kill off a cockroach, but he's not. So, due to the circumstances, we learned that he tells Anzu that he's been like kicked out of his house, when we find out later on that there's actually more happening to his story, to what we realize. And whilst this is occurring, she does, in a way, take him in. And, I must also include, in the first episode, in connection to the second, is that once this video game wizard comes into her life, her parents and her cat end up disappearing too. So so this is sort of like the carryover into the second episode. Of course, Tsukasa learns a bit about Anzu, but it's still early stages. Moving into episode 3, which is called My Life Has Become a Dating Sim. And Anzu dreams about her dear Momohiki, which is her cat. Then she wakes up to a mortifying reality as Tsukasa checks up on his apartment and shocked by what he finds. So there's sort of like something that happens in the background, to which it then leads him to basically then staying at Anzu's place a little bit longer. So with the next episode being the childhood friend is easy mode. Now this centers around a character to which we know as Junta, who is also a childhood friend of Anzu. And flustered by a sudden appearance of Junta, Anzu confronts Riri, who is this game wizard that's interfering with her daily life. But the mischievous tiny wizard has a few more tricks in store for them. So in this, they sort of like set some situations up to which it's not long after this that Junta will also end up staying at Anzu's place. But in the process, we also learn a little bit about Junta's background, of how he was also called Tonta. Yes, he did sort of like have some bullies, but we also learn a little bit more about those bullies in further episodes. So jumping into episode episode 5, you're more troublesome in flesh and blood. After bumping into Junta and Tsukasa, Riri organizes a spontaneous dinner at Anzu's house, and he tries to stir up an unwelcome romantic tension. In this, we have the wizard, or the game wizard, that's now in Anzu's life. She now wants to work on sort of like getting them to like work together a little bit more. But now this is now working together to have them sort of like all have dinner at the table together, seeing that her parents aren't around because they're overseas. And that's why episode 6 is a reincarnated in another world date. So as the unlikely trio start their life together, Anzu finds herself a job to distract herself from Riri's schemes, but ends up on an impromptu date. So in this, they end up coming across a situation to which she's now working in a store, and this store will play an important part for the next person who'll be coming into the story. And we'll see them in episode 7. And whilst this is occurring, we have, I think it's Junta, working on some things in regards to her, and they sort of, it's not a date that they go on to, but sort of like just a date to go shopping. If I remember, they do end up like going to a different location. I don't think it's the shops. That comes a little bit later, like some different shops. Moving into episode 7, which is You Sure Have Your Quirks, and this is the introduction of a new character. After the incident, to which it almost appears that Anzu is almost hit by a car, Anzu shows up to school with a rich and handsome Hijiri Kogane. Now, we learned that Hijiri Kogane is actually from a bit of a rich family, but attracting unwanted attention from her nosy classmates. With Hijiri, she basically gives him a talking to in regards to his actions. And it's not long after that we do actually get to see him sort of like being humbled a bit and being sent by his father to go to basically a commoner school, because he addresses her as a bit of a commoner, even though he's from a bit of a rich household. And that slowly begins the relationship with Hijiri, and what we start to see with his character that breaks out in the story. Now, jumping into episode 8, Goosebumps, I am a goose now. When a rowdy man accuses Anzu of spilling his coffee, a beautiful savior comes to the rescue. Meanwhile, Riri comes to plans to speed up the progress in regards to sort of like increasing her love interests. But of course, after she takes the time to address the situation, he also gets a bit of a talking to because of he should have been looking where he was going, and of course things do seem to change. Now, next episode 9, Ginger Ale is a force majeure. On her way home, Anzu bumps into two childhood friends. As they catch up on old times, they go to a nearby cafe as she has a revelation about Junta. So these childhood friends are in relation to sort of like when these childhood friends are in relation to people she went to school with, and they start to arrange to sort of like have a bit of a small reunion, which will take place in the there's a small reunion takes place at a cafe. After the cafe reunion, we end up meeting another character by the name of Ryuya, who we learn also had a bit of a love interest in her when he was younger, and still seems to carry it now. Jumping into episode 10, to which we meet up with another childhood friend of hers. It's called Other Way Around Dummy. Chased out of her home by an unruly big brother, Saki turns up at Anzu's house. Riri nudges everyone to go on a summer outing together, to which in this summer outing together, they end up going to like a bit of a festival, and during this festival, they end up meeting up with a person connected to Saki's past. And we learned that this person connected to Saki was a bit of a jerk to her. And, of course, this person is also responsible to, like, spreading lies and rumors about her. But in the process, with the friends that Anzu has made, they have learnt to read the situation and also help interact in a way to keep the friend guarded from uncomfortable interactions that she doesn't want. And I thought that was really well executed in the story. Now, as we start to move into episodes 11 and 12, this deals with a bit of a stalker issue in regards to one of the characters, and this stalker goes by the name of Kishi, to which it looks like at the end of season 1, moving into season 2, we will probably see the return of that character. I've still yet to read through the manga, but I will tell you this, you will want to pick up the manga to this series. There's only 4 volumes to it, and a lot of the manga in relation to this is actually coloured. So, yeah, I highly recommend, as I recently picked it up in the city last time I was there. So, first, the title of episodes 11 and 12 are Just Tell Me If You Don't Like It. Anzu, Hishiri, and his chauffeur have a fun day at a game center. Later, a mysterious woman approaches Anzu and introduces herself. Now, in this, we learn that Anzu meets Kishi, to which we find out that Kishi is actually the person who is sort of like plays a big part in Tsukasa, sort of like cutting himself off from other people. And this is why we start to get a better understanding of his actions in the story, from the beginning to the end. And through that, we move towards the end of this episode, to which she ends up finishing off her shift, and when she finishes off her shift, she is encountered once again by Kishi, but this time she's got a knife. So, jumping into episode 12, which is called Last Story, but it's not a last story. Cornered by Yukana Kishi, Anzu finds herself in a dangerous situation, worried about her whereabouts, and her friends scramble to find her. In this, we have quite a bit happen with Anzu Hoshino, to which, yes, it takes Tsukasa to confronting this stalker head on, as he sees that Anzu Hoshino's life is in danger. And yes, you do get to see a woman being pushed. So it's the only other way to put it. Only because of how dangerous the situation has gotten in regards to another character. He did it basically to defend her. Of course, we do learn that Hijiri also knows the uncle who is related to Yukana Kishi, and he also takes the time to talk to the uncle to get her some help so that she doesn't pursue this line of thinking again. So that I really enjoyed. But due to Riri's actions, like throughout all the 12 episodes, there have been consequences to which they now must be confronted on. And due to Riri, the wizard's actions in the story, we learn that they are basically sent back to work, and in this we are introduced to a new wizard, to which the friends that she makes ends up meeting this wizard, and we learn that this particular wizard's name is called Kate, and in the process she talks to Kate and in a way does the dirties to get Riri back, because okay, though Riri might have been a pain in the ass character to Anzu, she did sort of indicate a minor love interest towards Riri in the male form, which would be Rio. But in the process, we do move towards the end of the story, to which eventually Riri returns as they're on their way to school. We learn that Kate is actually now assigned to Kishi, so no doubt there's definitely going to be something happening there. Hopefully in the next season, when we do see Kishi, she's not as obsessed with Tsukasa. Maybe even found a new love interest, and maybe even pursuing more of a healthier relationship. So, jumping into the next thing, and that is my afterthoughts in regards to these episodes. To be honest, I wasn't too sure if I was going to like this series from beginning to end, and it really caught me by surprise. Like, who wouldn't want something like this in your life? Like to have a game wizard from a game connected to a company, and it does everything it does to help you in either improve your love life or just do things outside of video games, cats, and chocolate. Though at the end of the story, we do actually see the return of her mother, her mum, her dad, her cat, but not long after that, they do end up going back again overseas, and she's left back at home. But also, this time, there are some new things, and there's also a new rule in place. I won't give any indication as to what the rule is. So it's going to be interesting as to see how the next season will take place, and also what will happen in the next season. I hope by then that I've also caught up with all of the manga in relation to this series. There's only 4 volumes of the manga. Moving into the next thing, and that is the area of the rating of the rating. So I think for the first part of the rating, I'll cover the main characters, to which the main characters in this series turned out to be Anzu Hashino, Tsukasa, of course Riri / Rio, also Hijiri, who actually came a little bit later on, but the way Hijiri is right now, he's a mix between a main character and a supporting character, and I think for a supporting character he holds up quite well, more so than a main. Of course there's Junta, who is definitely a main character, as they're like characters that have stayed within her house and also played a part in looking after her and in / her looking after them. So for the main characters, an 8.5 out of 10. Moving into the next thing is that of the supporting characters, to which would probably be Hijiri, of course his bodyguard. Some of the smaller characters, such as her childhood friends, I would give them an 8 out of 10. Next is the area of the soundtrack, as I've actually quite liked the soundtrack in this, and I'll give it an 8 out of 10. Next is the area of the animation, to which I really enjoyed the animation from beginning to end here. Yes, there were some funny scenes that they did with the animation, especially around Anzu's face. You'll know it when you see it. To which I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Next is the area of the soundtrack. Or did I just cover the soundtrack? Soundtrack, I give an 8 out of 10. And last but not least, we have the area of the story, to which I give an 8.5 out of 10. I definitely highly recommend that you check this out. And until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.
アクションロマンティック壊してあげる昔の恋なんか蹴飛ばして